For our third class, we're going to look at trumps, how to make best use of our trump suit. And we're going to spend much of the class looking at that vexed issue of whether to get rid of the opponent's trumps at the beginning of the hand or whether to delay matters. But before we do that, let's just have a little think about how to draw the trumps. And I want to say a few words about counting. Now have a look at the table, and I've laid out a possible trump suit, and it's a perfectly acceptable one here. We've got 8 cards between the two hands. Now, when you are counting, there's a particular way that I want you to do it that is much, much easier than any other way. So listen carefully. The first step in the process is to work out how many trumps are missing. Now, we've got 8, so the opponents have 5, which you would assume would be split 3-2. They might be 4-1, and even occasionally on a really bad day, perhaps 5-0. But you would expect them to be 3-2. A missing odd number of cards is a favourite to split as evenly as possible. So, let's see how we might draw their trumps whilst keeping count. The key is going to be just to count their cards, just to count the missing cards. So each time we see them play a trump, we reduce that number down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then they've all gone. So we start off by, let's say, playing a trump to our ace, and let's say that both Guy and Cheryl follow with a trump. So now there are just 3 trumps left out. So we play out a second round of trumps, the king to the 4, and if Guy and Cheryl follow a second time, we could then say that the trumps had split 3-2 and that there was just 1 trump left out. Now it's smaller than our queen, so we would lead to our queen and the trumps would be drawn. Notice that I'm just counting the missing trumps and I'm counting down the missing trumps to 0. Try to avoid, if you can, when you're counting, to count your cards and the dummies and to count in tricks. For example, 1 round of trumps, that's 4, 2 rounds of trumps, that's 8, and build up to 13. I often hear people say, I can't learn to play bridge because I can't count up to 13. Well, you really very rarely have to. What you're doing when you're counting the trumps, or indeed counting any other suit, is you're counting down from a much smaller number, like 5 or 6, just working with the missing cards. Now let's have a look at another layout. Now, this time we've got a 9-card trump fit. So the first number we're focusing on is 4, because there are 4 trumps out. And we're thinking of those trumps in terms of their likely split. They might be 2 and 2, they might be 3 and 1. So, anyway, we decided it's right to draw the trumps, looking at the rest of the hand. So we start with the ace of trumps, and let's say that both Guy and Cheryl follow. So now there are 2 trumps left out. So we play out the king of trumps, and we're rather hoping that they'll each follow a second time. But what actually happens is that Cheryl follows and Guy throws something away. So the trumps have split 3-1. And how many trumps are there left out? Well, there's 1 trump left out. It's higher than all of yours. Now, do you think you should waste 2 of your trumps to get rid of a trump that's going to win a trick anyway? Well, when put like that, probably not. And actually there's a very useful rule, the rule of 1, which says that when there's just 1 trump left out that's higher than all of yours, then leave it out. In other words, leave the master trump outstanding.
Is there ever an occasion when you would break that rule, Andrew?
That's a good question, Claire. Yes, I often think to call it the rule of 1 is perhaps slightly too strong because, yes, let's say dummy had a long suit and no entry outside the suit. You might actually, in that scenario, lead and lose that master trump just to clear out the hand so that you could cross to dummy and enjoy the long suit. Yes, perhaps the guideline of 1 is more appropriate. Now, let's have a look at 2 complete hands and see how we can use our trumps. But first of all, let's have a look at the bidding. Now, Claire's the opener. Naturally, she opens one spade. Very nice hand, lovely spade suit. Caroline now responding. She hasn't got a fit for spades. Normally speaking, one would therefore bid one's longest suit at the lowest level. That would involve saying 2 diamonds. Now, to bid a new suit at the 2 level, there's a guideline that I was teaching you in our last class called the rule of 14. If you add up the number of cards in the suit that you're planning to bid to the number of points in the whole hand, then if that total gets to 14, to make a 2/1 response, such as 1 spade, 2 diamonds, it's perfectly okay. But you see here, Caroline's only got 4 cards in diamonds, 8 points in her hand, and therefore, with 12 in total, inadequate strength to respond to diamonds. So the question is, what should she bid? Well, there's a special dustbin bid, which shows a poor hand, a slowing down manoeuvre that you make when you fail the rule of 14, and that is what Caroline's going to do now. 1, no trump. Now, let's have a look at Claire's hand, and I'm sure you'd agree with me that Claire would like to repeat her spades, and we've already commented that a player bidding and repeating the same suit should have 6 cards in that suit. The issue, though, is whether Claire should repeat her suit at the lowest level or whether Claire should repeat her suit with a jump. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an illustration of the principle. Now, when opener is repeating his suit to show 6 cards, he uses this opener's 6-card repeat line, and you'll see here that if the opener has a relatively minimum hand, that's up to 15 points, then he opens at the 1 level and plans to repeat at the lowest level over partner's bid, but with 16 to 19 points, he opens at the 1 level and repeats with a jump over partner's bid. Good. So now let's return to the table and see what Claire is going to rebid. You see, with 16 points there, Claire quite correctly has enough to jump the bidding in her suit. And it's that knowledge, if we now move over to Caroline's hand, it's that knowledge, the knowledge that partner has at least 16 points, that tells Caroline that she's at worst 1 point short of the 25 for game. And because she knows that there's a 9-card fit in the spade suit, she says, well, worst case scenario, 1 point short of game, 4 spades. So 4 spades is the contract, and now the issue is how to approach the play. Guy leads a heart, down comes the dummy, and, well, what next? Let's count up how many tricks we think we can definitely win. How many top tricks we have. Well, look first at the trump suit. Certainly going to make your ace, king, queen and jack. But if you think about it, there are only 4 trumps left out. And even in the worst case scenario that they're splitting 4-0, they will all fall under the ace, king, queen and jack. So you can actually count the 3 and the 2 as top tricks. They're certain to score. So that's 6 tricks. We've got the ace of hearts there is 7, and 3 club tricks is 10. I know we have the 4 top clubs, but they are 2 of them going to crash because we've only got 3 cards in each hand. We've actually got 10 top tricks, and that's enough tricks for our contract. So clearly it would be sensible to get rid of the opponent's trumps at the beginning of the deal, because the only thing that can go wrong is if we forget to draw their trumps and see the opponent's trump one of our winners. If we played out our clubs, for example, before drawing their trumps, then if the opponent's trumped one of our top clubs, then our 10 top tricks would fall to a sad 9. Good. But can we make any extra tricks on top of those 10 tricks, do you think? And what I'm particularly interested in is, can we use the fact that we have a singleton heart here in our hand to make extra tricks? What about the idea of winning with the ace of hearts, the first trick, and trumping a heart? Are we creating anything extra by doing that? Is that a trick on top of the 10 that we've already counted? Well, the answer is no, because we've already counted the 6 trumps as winners in our hand. So in fact, we cannot make more than our 10 top tricks. Trumping in our hand on this deal and on most others, almost all others that you'll meet, is a pointless exercise. Let's make a small change, however. Let's just swap the hearts over, and I'm just moving 2 diamonds back. And let's have a look now at the 4 spade contract this time. Do you think we can make more than our 10 top tricks with the same 10 top tricks? Do you think we can make more now that I've swapped the hearts across? Can we use the fact that we have a singleton heart there in the dummy to create extra tricks? What do we think? How about winning the heart with the ace and leading a heart and trumping it there in the dummy? Is that creating an extra trick? Well, the answer is yes, it is, because we weren't going to make dummies trumps in the normal course of events. They were just going to fall under ours. So we have found a way to make a trump that wasn't otherwise going to score. So yes, that is an extra trick. And what's more, we could come back to our hand and lead our other small heart and again trump it. And so correct technique here would lead us to make not just our 10 top tricks, but actually 12 tricks, trumping the 2 hearts. And the crucial point here is that we're trumping them with the short trump hand. Now, here's an interesting question. Could we get rid of the opponent's trumps before we trump our hearts in the dummy? Or do you think we have to trump our hearts in the dummy immediately? Well, let's just think what would happen if we drew the opponent's trumps. Whose trumps would we also be getting rid of? Well, the answer is the dummy's trumps. And so when you are trumping in the short trump hand, which almost always is the dummy, then you have to do it at the very beginning of the hand, before drawing the opponent's trumps, because if you draw the opponent's trumps, then you draw dummy's trumps. So this is a very important occasion in bridge, the important occasion where you have to delay drawing the opponent's trumps. It's when you have a short suit in the dummy that you can then void and trump your extra cards in that dummy. Let's look at this more formally now. Over here. Is there a suit in which dummy has fewer cards than you? Not the trump suit, but another suit. Because if the answer is yes, then you can make extra tricks by delaying drawing trumps and trumping in the dummy. And the routine for that, fairly common sense really. First of all, you void the dummy of the suit. Then you trump your extra cards with dummy's trumps. And then finally, you draw the opponent's trumps. But you have to delay it until after you've done all your trumping. However, if there isn't a suit in which dummy has fewer cards, then you might just as well draw the opponent's trumps. And so the critical question to ask when you're deciding whether to draw trumps at the beginning of the hand or whether to delay it is this one. Is there a suit in which dummy has fewer cards? Good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at another complete 2-hand layout. Now let's have a look at this second 2-hand layout. Claire's opening the bidding and she's got 19 points, so 1 spade. Now because it's a balanced hand that Claire has, 5-3-3-2, her planned rebid, should her partner bid a new suit, will be with a jump to 3 no trumps. But first let's have a look to see what Caroline actually does respond. She's got a poor hand, but because she's got 6 points, she does have to respond in case Claire has 19, as indeed she does. So she has a choice of 2 weakish bids. One of them is the dustbin 1 no trump. But as we commented in our last class, when you have 3 decent trumps, particularly when you have a shortish suit elsewhere, it's actually more successful, proved more successful to make the single major raise with 3 cards here. So Caroline bids 2 spades. And whereas a jump raise, such as 1 spade, 3 spades, would always guarantee at least 4 cards, the single major raise is a bit suspect and does sometimes contain just 3 cards. It's a preferable alternative to the dustbin 1 no trump. So now that Claire knows that there is a fit in spades, she goes for the game in the major suit, 4 spades. And the correct contract is reached. Good. Now let's have a look at this hand. Guy leads a diamond, and let's count up how many tricks we think we definitely have. Well, let's make the assumption that the trump split is not horrendous. In other words, it's not 5-0. And in that case, we're going to make all 5 trumps in our hand using the queen for one of the rounds. So that's 5 trump tricks: ace, king of hearts, 6, 7, nothing in clubs, and ace, king of diamonds, 8, 9. Perhaps you're thinking 3 no trumps would have worked too. You're right, absolutely right. But here we are in 4 spades, and we do have to make 1 extra trick. But just let's recall that critical question which will tell us whether or not to get rid of the trumps at the beginning of the hand. Is there a suit in which dummy has fewer cards than us? And the answer is here, yes. Hearts. So we can make extra tricks by voiding the dummy of that suit and trumping our extra card in the dummy. And so what we could do here is we could win the diamond trick, doesn't matter in which hand we do that, but let's say we win it with the ace, and then we lead a heart to the ace, and then we lead the king of hearts, and then we lead our 3rd heart, and we trump it. Good, and that is an extra trick. And once we've done that, we're now able to draw the trumps, so we would lead the queen of trumps, and then a trump to our hand, drawing all the remaining trumps, but instead of having 9 tricks that we started with, we've got 10 because we trumped that heart in the dummy, in the short trump hand, thereby scoring an extra trick. Good, now let's put those cards back. We're going to have a little change. Let's say that the contract was 4 spades again on a diamond lead. Is this an occasion, would you say, where you should delay drawing the trumps? Is there anything we can do with dummy's trumps? Can we do any trumping, any roughing with dummy's trumps? Well, here there isn't a suit that's shorter in the dummy than in our hand. So we might just as well draw their trumps. Unfortunately, we actually have 10 top tricks by way of 5 trumps, 3 hearts, ace, king, queen, and 2 diamonds, ace, king. So this would not be an occasion for delaying drawing the trumps. Let's change back. Now, slightly different variation. Look carefully at the 2 hands. Count up our top tricks. Well, we've got 5 trumps, ace, king of hearts, and ace, king of diamonds. So 9 top tricks. Can we generate a 10th trick by trumping in the dummy? Is there a suit in which dummy has fewer cards than we do? Well, the answer is yes, and Claire's correctly fiddling with absolutely the right suit. It's diamonds, because we have only 2 diamonds in the dummy and 3 diamonds in our hand, and so diamonds is the suit we're going to focus on. Guy's actually led a diamond. It's going to be slightly better to win with the ace in the dummy at trick 1, so that at trick 2 we can lead the 5 of diamonds to our king, and then this is the critical trick, this is the extra trick, the 7 of diamonds is led, and we trump it in the dummy. That's our extra trick. We now draw the trump starting with the queen, and instead of having 9 tricks, we have 10 tricks. Good. All right, let's have a look at this final layout. Guy's led a diamond against the 4 spade contract, and we count up our top tricks. Assuming no horrendous trump split, there are 5 trump winners: ace, king of clubs, and ace, king of diamonds. So we're 1 short of the 10 we need to fulfill our 4 spade game. So, can we generate an extra trump trick? Now, as I hope I've emphasised, the key is to trump in the short trump hand, almost always the dummy. And so the question is there a suit that is shorter in the dummy than in our hand? So let's have a look. And you'll see here there is. Hearts. Now, voiding the dummy of hearts is going to involve a bit of hard work. We're going to have to concede the lead a couple of times, but you have to lose to win in bridge, so the strategy should work. Although, as we're about to see, these wily opponents are going to try to thwart our plan. So, what we do is we win the dam, let's say with the ace, and then at the second trick, we lead a heart, thereby beginning the process of voiding the dummy in hearts. Now, the opponents are going to win this trick. I wonder if we can think what return they might make in an attempt to thwart our plan of using dummy's trumps to trump our extra heart. Well, have you thought? It's a trump. The whole game of bridge turns on its head. Suddenly we're not drawing the trumps and our opponents, the defenders, are. Now they are going to try to lead trumps sufficient times to get rid of dummy's trumps before we can use a trump to trump our third heart. It's going to be a race. Let's see who wins the race. Now, let's say that Cheryl wins the heart. She leads a trump. So we say win the queen of trumps in the dummy. So low in our hand, win the queen in the dummy. And what do we do at trick 4? We lead another heart, voiding the dummy of hearts. The defence win and again lead a second trump. Can you see who's going to win the race? And we win the trump in our hand and we lead our final heart with a flourish because we are indeed able to trump it in the dummy, and that is our extra trick. And now all that remains is to come back to our hand with the ace of clubs, whatever, and draw whatever trumps should be remaining, and instead of having the 9 top tricks, we have 10. Good. Now we'll finish up this class looking at how to make best use of trumps by focusing on the three most important issues. If you remember just 3 things about trumps, first of all, very importantly, when you're counting a suit, particularly say trumps, so you know when they have no more trumps left, focus just on the missing cards in that suit. So for example, if you have 8 cards, the opponents have 5. Each time they play one of those 5 cards, you reduce that number down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And I find it helps to think in terms of their likely split. 5 missing cards would rate to split 3, 2. Good. Our second point, the rule of 1. When there's just 1 trump left out that is higher than yours, it is usually, almost always, not quite always, best to leave it out. And 3, this issue of whether or not to get rid of the opponent's trumps at the beginning of the hand or whether to delay matters. The main time to delay drawing the trumps is when dummy has a side suit that has fewer cards than you, which you then void to trump your extra card in the dummy. Well, I hope you enjoyed our class on trumps. Now, as on this particular hand,